E186. It was London 68, Rochdale 0. We had a viewing on this one.
Yeah, Paul Chamberlain said, firstly, good to see the academy team beat Wakey 22-18 pre-match and to see at least 4 other youth sides in attendance. After putting up with Rochdale using Livette Patton and others in the return fixture, whilst London rely on their own youth, it was really particularly enjoyable to see them get a good beating. When points mean places and funding, this approach rankles for those trying to develop the right way.
Yeah, Paul certainly has an axe to grind with Rochdale about the way they've gone about things, whereas London are trying to bring through the grassroots in that area and bring in their own players into the side and, like I say, dishing them out to some of the other southern-based clubs in League One through dual reg as well, helping to try and solidify those routes. So I think there's a fair point being made in that. Paul also got in touch by email about something else actually that he wanted to talk about from the game, and I thought it was an interesting point, so definitely a discussion point for us, Tim. Paul said, there was an incident yesterday that reminded me of something I forgot to add to my Leeds review, and I wanted to ask you and thought you might want to comment during the show. In literally one London set, Rochdale managed to get 2 players taken off with head knocks and another with a bad knee injury. One of the players with a knock had been on for 5 minutes at hooker and one of the smallest players I've ever seen. Think Peter Godinay crossed with Mini-Me. Anyway, I called it straight away, and lo and behold, Matty Fleming got him one-on-one, went over the top of him and knocked him out cold. It reminded me of all the knocks and hits Jack Walker has been taking. He got 3 to his head on Friday, and in every Leeds game I see he seems to take multiple bad knocks, whether to the balls or otherwise. Do you think Leeds have a duty of care to take him out of the firing line more for the sake of his long-term career? I know it's a hard game, but I have a concern they might end up shortening his career. So the kind of point on this it goes beyond just Jack Walker, I think, to smaller players as generally.
Well, it goes back into what we were saying about Heffernan earlier as well. It's along the same sort of lines. He's not particularly small, but he's on smaller edge. But yeah, I think there is a duty of care with, where you have got a smaller player, and it comes down to coaching as well. There've been plenty of small players who've been very successful. But again, if you think of some that have quite a few that have picked up regular head knocks, then a lot of them do tend to be on the smaller side because they are going in at that lower position where they're more likely to collide with a knee or into a hip bone or something. So it is, especially if they're low down.
Yeah. And if this,
but I think it's definitely a training and coaching thing as much as anything. If this lad from
Rochdale's getting beasted by Matty Fleming, it's not exactly, you don't exactly think physical, imposing player.
He's not poorly,
is it? Yeah, exactly. So there is a problem here in that. I'll try and find out the wee fella's name. It might be Tyler Whitaker, who's the half, because he said he thinks it was Whitaker, but he seemed to have started the game. So could have been one of the other people coming off the bench, maybe. Deck Gregory, maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah, let's just see who they did have on dual reg in this one. Pat Moran, he was at Warrington. Ben Pomeroy played in this one as well, so that kind of point rolls on, doesn't it? George King played as well, so yeah, they were using dual reg certainly, but teams need to get the players in from one way or another in the game to make the teams up, I suppose. And if they don't have any youth structure, it is difficult.
Without a youth or reserve grade, it is hard.
But yeah, for small players, one thing that's disappointing me is the lack of headguards being worn. I mean, both Leeds fullbacks started their careers wearing headguards and seem to have cast them aside. Peter Godinay was a name mentioned. He doesn't seem to wear them anymore in the NRL, whereas I remember him always wearing one when he played at Wakefield.
And much as I joke about backs wearing headguards and they shouldn't be allowed, but actually it almost should be the other way around in our sport. It should probably be that those who are, especially the fullbacks who are putting their heads in all sorts of places to make those last-ditch tackles, and generally more at pace as well.
Fullbacks,
they probably should be wearing.
Fullbacks and small hookers is where that should be seen as mandatory, and I'm worried to see the senior players discarding them. You don't see many head guards around Super League at the moment, do you? And
but I wonder how much, because I played with a head guard for most of the time I played, but it was tend to be, I struggled to find one that fitted properly. So it probably is a case they just need to find one that fits and is comfortable. Because I went for a few, including one that was bright pink, which was a ridiculous decision. But it's finding, because everybody's head shape is different, not everybody's head fits into the one shape of head guard. So it is probably something they do need to look at, and they need to just make sure they're wearing one that's proper for them.
Someone needs to bring something in where you're more bespoke in them, maybe, because it's coming with the mouth guards and stuff like that they get better fitted mouth guards and more bespoke pieces there now. Maybe it needs to be looked at as head guards, but I'm worried that it's going to pass down to the junior ages. I'm not seeing as many kids wearing them as I think should be wearing them in like the little festival games you might see. We sponsored the Mighton under 9s, and I saw a picture of those kids with
Joshua did wear very fetching.
Yeah, I saw a picture of those kids with Jamie Jones Buchanan, who was at the Mighton game for the free sports coverage.
Free sport, yeah.
Through Rugby AM. But there was only one player in the Mighton under 9s that was wearing a headguard, and that was Joshua. So, and apparently they were playing against a much bigger side in the West Hull side that they were up against.
Yeah, I've heard that West Hull side mentioned a couple of times.
So it just seems to me that it needs to all the way from the Super League level down, smaller players in these positions where they're putting the body on the line a lot for their own well-being, for the longevity of the career. Because Leeds can't pull him out of the side on two counts. No. One, he's definitely the best fullback they've got, and two, they've got loads of injuries. If the other fullback option has been out injured anyway the last couple of weeks. So, to me, I think there's a case there that we need to think about these little lads wearing head guards, and someone should be encouraging them to wear them, rather than what I think probably happens is that they get discouraged from wearing them, either because they'll get convinced it's affecting their vision and awareness, or they'll get convinced it's affecting, like you say, it might not be comfortable and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, or a fitness thing. If they feel they're blowing and they feel that they're overheating for what, probably this time of year in particular, they're more likely to take them off because they think they're warped. Warm. I know a few people I played with who would only wear them when it was cooler, but when it got to sort of this stage where you had the sun on your back, you wouldn't see them as much.
Yeah, it's certainly, an interesting point that Paul's raised about young players and little players getting knocked around a bit, and maybe we need to think about where the duty of care lies on that sort of stuff. Okay, final couple of fixtures to run through. Featherstone 56, Barrow 4, and Batley 20, Sheffield 38. That was the one big surprise, an upset result of the round. So really good win on the road for the Eagles there. Toronto hold a comfortable lead at the top of the table on 31 points. Toulouse stay second despite defeat on 24, ahead of Featherstone on points difference only. Halifax are fourth on 23 points. London and Leigh sit just outside on 22, with 6 games left to settle the top 4. Batley have 14, Barrow 13, Sheffield are up to 9th on 10 points, Dewsbury fall to 10th on 9 points, Swinton and Rochdale are the bottom 2, both on 6 points. Into League One now, where it was round 13 of fixtures. The first one to cover is Hemel 8, Newcastle 56, and it was North Wales 4, York City Knights 31. We had a fan review in on this one.
Yeah, Mark Butler says, woof! What a rotten display from the Crusaders. Loads of handling errors in possession and cheap penalties without it leads to goal line defence for most of the 80 minutes. In fairness, that goal line defence was pretty decent, as York's dominance warranted rather more than 5 tries. On top of that, during one of my daughter's mid-game walks, I had to shepherd her away from a crew replacement having what he thought was a sneaky piss. Love it.
That's the kind of stories you only get on the Super League pod, kids. Workington 34, Doncaster 6, Whitehaven 20, Bradford 27. We got one in on this one as well.
Yeah, one from Alan. Shoddy and Mungo said, never in doubt. In all seriousness, good to see so many getting to the game, and the Bulls should be happy to be getting out of Cumbria with the 2 points this time.
Yeah, I didn't catch any of the of the coverage of this game. But what was the crowd? Do we know that?
It was, I think, 1,400 from memory, but I'll just look it up.
1,476. That's a very good crowd. It was the best crowd.
Not bad for a team that had, nothing to put together just a week ago.
It was the best crowd in the division by more than 900. So there you go. I hope it wasn't just the Bradford fans who made up that number, and there'll be some people that were buoyed on by a competitive performance by Whitehaven at the very least. Okay, Keighley 94, West Wales 0, Oldham 44, London Scholars 12, Hunslet 40, Coventry 16.
Yeah, bit of an improved defensive performance from the Bears this time. We had near first choice side up there at South Leeds. So
and that's we're going to find out. Hunslet
much better.
Hunslet are a side on the up, so to get 16 points as well would be a positive thing for Coventry going into the back end of the year.
Given recent results, keeping them just to 40 is a fair result as well.
Yeah, and does that put us now at the halfway stage?
It does, yes. We're a 26 round season, so yeah.
Yeah. So
halfway in League One.
Something for work on for the second half of the season for Cov there. Okay, first place Bradford with 24 points maintain their 2-point lead over York at the top. Oldham get ready to do maths, kids, whilst you're listening. Oldham are another 2 points behind York. Hunslet are another 2 points back behind Oldham in fourth. Then a group of 3 playoff chasers are on 16 points. Keighley, Workington and free-falling Doncaster. Newcastle and Whitehaven on 14 points will still fancy their playoff chances too. At the halfway point, North Wales, London Scholars, Coventry, Hemel, West Wales make up the rest of the table. Into the Women's Super League, it was Bradford 10, Wigan Warriors 34. It was Castleford 14, St Helens 14, and a big win for the top of the table Leeds Riders, 80 points to 0 over York.
Well done to Leeds there. Seem to get a good point, and they have got quite a few players out injured as well. So well done to them.
Yep, into the NRL where it was round 15 of action. And we start with the Eels 24, the Rabbitohs 42. Tom Burgess grabbed a try. Sam Burgess had 143 metres. George Burgess also played but must have picked up a knock during the game.
Or did he? Who knows?
I didn't watch it. Cowboys 6.
No, because it was him that said he wasn't injured, wasn't he?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it was. I think he was 100% on his tackle success up to the point he went off. So that's impressive.
Oh.
So more England players impressing. Cowboys 16, Warriors 23. It was the Roosters 32, the Panthers 6. So disappointing for the Panthers, who had risen up to the top end of the table. We got a match review in on this one.
Yeah, Phil Nadin said the Panthers didn't look like the top of the league side they are tonight. They was outrun, outfought and outmuscled for the majority of this game. The Roosters had better attack, ran harder and had better game play and kicking. The Roosters not only put the most points on the Panthers than any other team so far, but also took over the title. Best defence in the league so far. Top 5 very close, just 2 points in it.
Well, the Bulldogs 10, Titans 32, but neither of those two are trouble in that top end of the table as things stand. The Dragons, though, they are at the top end. 32 for the Dragons against the Sea Eagles, who only managed 8, so another win for Graham and Widdop's side. 1 try and 100 metres for James Graham going into the England fixture, and 1 try and 5 tackle busts for Gareth Widdop going into, I think that might have meant to be 1 try assist and 5 tackle busts going into England's game for Gareth Widdop. It was the Sharks 16, the Broncos 20, the Knights 10, beat by the Storm 28. It was West Tigers 12, Canberra Raiders 48 in an impressive win as the Tigers continue to decline. The Raiders are resurgent, and Elliot Whitehead had 198 metres in this one. Josh Hodgson returned from injury and was important in getting 2 try assists as well. So great stuff there from the man in the England squad and a man who will be in that England squad come the end of the year if that's an indicator of his return.
He definitely will be.
Action. In terms of the table, the Dragons stay up there at the top, 24 points for them. The Rabbitohs are leading the chasing group of 3 on 22, which includes the Panthers and the Warriors. The Storm and the Roosters on 20 points, and the Sharks and the Broncos are on 18 points to complete the top 8. The order outside the top 8 is Raiders, West Tigers, Titans, Knights, Cowboys, Seagulls, Bulldogs, and finally the lowly Parramatta Eels. That is last week in Rugby League well and truly covered. We're now going to look forward to a mix of Super League catch-ups, rep weekend games, and games of the week from the Championship and League One as we preview and predict what